Hello, my name is David Dietrichs, and this is my week 3 assignment for FTH 212. So this week, I'm going to go ahead and field strip this Glock. Before I do that though, we're going to make sure that's clear and safe. So we're going to look. I'm going to visually feel up in here. I don't feel any rounds in the chamber. And we can see daylight through the magazine well. And we'll get a closer look so we can see no ammunition inside the firearm. So we are clear and safe. So last week we assembled this. This week we were asked to do a field strip and go over the major subassemblies. So to break this down, I always find this a little hard. I'm not used to this yet. Nope, I didn't do it right. Let's try that. Oh, that's right. So trigger has to be depressed. I'm still learning this platform. So there we go. Trigger is depressed. It still didn't want to do it. Let's try one more time. The idea is not to reset the trigger. A note here. There. So I'm not used to how these break down. Still learning that, so I apologize for that. So start with a slide and our subassemblies. So here we have a recoil subassembly, and we'll go ahead and remove that. Recoil spring subassembly, and then we have our barrel subassembly. Function of these two, obviously recoil spring helps mitigate the recoil, kind of direct it. Barrel holds the round and allows for the bullet to travel out of the firearm with some twist to it, rifling it. Alright, moving on. Next we have the striker. So the striker's main function is to engage the primer on the bullet. So striker has a firing pin tip. When activated on by trigger, the sear of the trigger, it moves forward, like I said, impacting the primer on the cartridge, sending the round out the barrel. Alright, put that down. Next we have our grip assembly and our sub-assemblies in there. So we have our trigger, our fire control group, essentially. Our trigger assembly is up here, and we have a transfer bar, and then back here we have the sear and the ejector. So ejector's main thing is our extractor. I think I said it right. To help with the rounds coming out. The magazine also, it helps hold the slide lock back when you have no more rounds left in the magazine. Sear, obviously this will engage with what was said earlier, the striker. Right now it's down. Transfer bar, so this allows for, as I would pull the trigger, it transfers that energy, so the trigger pull, to the sear. So otherwise we'd have to have a trigger back here that wouldn't do anything. We have our locking subassembly up here. So this is where our slide lock comes into play. So as we can see right there, the slide lock. We have our mag well. I don't know if that really counts as a subassembly because we do have our magazine release, which allows for the magazine to fall out the firearm. So those are all of our major subassemblies. So now I'm going to reassemble firearm. First by putting the barrel back in, because the next step is I'm going to demonstrate a go and no-go gauge test on this firearm. Alright. So I could technically do it broken down, but I would prefer to have it back together. So we'll check again. Make sure, we're still clear. No ammunition, no obstructions. So we're going to start with, we have our no-go gauge. So we're going to insert that into the chamber. It'll even go into the chamber. So it's in there. So we don't want to slam this forward. This could damage the chamber or the no-go gauge. So very gently I'm going to slide this forward. And what should happen is it will not, as it just did, will not allow for the firearm to go to battery. Light push, nothing hard, and no movement. So no-go gauge, we're getting a proper reading. As we can see here, you can actually see the gap in the chamber. We can actually see the gauge from where it was not allowed to go in the battery. So this test is successful. And we'll go ahead and remove said no-go gauge. We'll set that off to the side. Now, we have our go gauge. Go gauge should allow us to go in the battery. Alright, so we've inserted it. Once again, very gently. Oh, the go gauge doesn't fall out the barrel. There we go. Oh. That was a gentle push. So now we are in battery. So that means that the head spacing in our firearm is correct. That means that the chamber doesn't have any deformities or anything wrong with it. It hasn't been worn out from excessive firing, which I would hope not, because I've only put 20 rounds through this firearm. But yeah, so there we go. We did the field strip, explained major subassemblies, what they do, and we did a go and no-go gauge test for head spacing. Alright, well, this has been my video submission for assignment 3 for FTH 212. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.